a term called covert contracts in the book I'm reading. I reread it constantly. No More Mr. Nice Guy. It talks about
Hmm.
covert contracts, about how you need something, and just kind of like the behavior. I'm going to do something in hopes that they discern what I need back, instead of just communicating, hey, this is what I want. And that
Yeah.
rejection piece is usually sitting there of like, how do I cross that barrier of asking without asking?
You're
Exactly.
expecting someone to know what's pissing you off. And
Mm-hmm.
I like to think of it as like, you know, people aren't psychic. They're not going to know something unless you tell them.
Yeah.
And I've been told this by a lot of my male friends also. They always say like, guys are dumb. Sometimes you just have to spell things out for us. Some people you
Mm.
just have to spell things out for, and it worst case scenario, you tell them something they already know. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's not so bad. It's and communicating is hard. Like forming boundaries has been probably one of my biggest issues too. I've always had trouble forming boundaries with people, but
Mm.
considering all my experiences with tech school and all this kind of
Mm.
stuff has kind of forced me on the fast track to form boundaries pretty quickly with people. I was someone I never used to block people because I thought it was mean. I thought that
Mm.
the act of blocking someone was so profoundly like mean and would make me seem like a nasty person. I never wanted to associate with being mean.
Mm.
So I never blocked people, but then I realized that I'm allowing all these people access to my mind and to
Right.
my emotional state. And
Mm.
it got to a point where I remember when I blocked like my very first person that I blocked like 2 years ago for the first time. And
Mm.
I was amazed at the mental peace that I got. And
Yeah.
I'm not like addicted to blocking, but I'm very quick to block people.
You just press that button. You say the wrong thing. I promise. You'll be on top.
or or even if like for people that I can't block, like let's just say
Mm.
I look at my parents or my family or someone says something that doesn't sit well with me or makes me upset that I would normally block a person for.
Mm.
I simply just don't respond because you also learn at some point some things just aren't worth the energy to be pity or to be petty and
Mm.
to type this whole paragraph long like you wronged me and how dare you say this, not to like let things go, but sometimes your absence says is more of an answer than sitting there typing a whole paragraph.
Yeah. That's facts.
I've had people tell me like 2 days later after saying something that pissed me off, like I haven't heard from you. I'm like, well, I'm ready to talk when you're ready to talk to me like an actual person.
Mm.
But if
That's
you're
real.
going to talk to me in a certain point, I'm not going to engage in that energy. I'm going to withdraw, and then when you're done being disrespectful, then we can have a discussion.
I feel like respect is a result of boundaries. It's kind of like Russia and North Korea. Like they have boundaries and they have borders. We
Yeah.
have borders. We have Coast Guard and the Navy, and like it's like when you cross a certain line, you cross a
Yeah.
certain mile marker. You cross it into a different ocean. Like you've crossed and there's a reason why F-22s like we establish respect very quickly. And, like you've crossed too far.
Yeah.
So I feel like boundaries are definitely necessary, and I feel like that fear of confrontation it tends to creep up sometimes. I have to be constantly aware of it. Of
I'm terrible at confrontation. It's something I'm
Are you?
still working on, but I've gotten much better at it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times I've gotten to a point where if I don't, because I tend to think of confrontation as something bad, like you're being mean. But if you,
Mm-hmm.
I try to substitute the word confrontation with just boundaries. You're just setting a boundary. Just because you're setting a
Mm-hmm.
boundary doesn't mean I'm upset with you. It just means I'm just not comfortable with something, and we just need to shift this narrative or this behavior or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone isn't okay with that, I'm not going to be angry with them, but I'm no longer going to engage with them because if I continue to and they're not respecting my boundaries, then that's just going to cause me distress. I recently had to do that with someone that I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I gave them a boundary and they kept stepping over it. And it got to a point where, and I wasn't angry with them for it, but I was like, this is not something I'm willing to deal with anymore. Good luck to you, whatever. I literally never in my life like defriended someone like in real life, like
Mm-hmm.
we will no longer be friends. I wish you the best of luck, bye. And I blocked them. No hard feelings. It was just like this is a continued behavior. you're literally stressing me out and you're causing me a lot of distress and you're making me, it got to a point, it actually involved a guy. I was like, it's getting to a point now where you're making me feel uncomfortable and even borderline unsafe. Like, I need you to stop. And I'm very generous. I give people many chances. And if they don't, I'm like, your apologies after a while fall on deaf ears and I'm just going to remove myself from this. That was a skill I wish I had developed much earlier in life. Much earlier. That would have served me so much better. I didn't go home for the holidays. So I didn't go for a lot of reasons. Like I honestly just, I wanted to be with myself for the holidays. I wanted to just, you know, I don't know. I don't know what it was. I wanted to spend the holidays with just myself and my friends, like my closest friends. I had a lot of friends that didn't have like families, and I wanted to spend it with them. I didn't want them to be alone. And I think my family got so used to me coming home every single holiday. And New York's only like a 3.5 hour drive, 4 hours, but I just wasn't in the mood for it. And again, I got so used to my peace that if I go home, it's chaos, it's noise every day. I'm in someone else's house. I think I'm like a control freak now because I like to control my space a lot.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm really just not feeling coming home. I honestly don't even have a really good reason. That's why I'm even having a hard time explaining it to you. It was something I felt and I wanted to honor it. And I could tell they were upset about it. But I was like, yeah, but it sounds kind of bad, but it's like, I'm not going to make myself uncomfortable to make you feel good. That's not how I run my life anymore. Not to say I'm not going to make sacrifices for people 100%. But at a certain point, I draw the line. I've stopped doing things to make other people happy at my own expense, especially with family. I feel like we're expected to do that with our family because, oh, that's your mom or that's so and so. But I realized, like, when you do that enough, that just makes you, that it weighs on you. It weighs on you a lot, and it was really good. Like, I stayed home and. A friend of mine came, and then my best friend from New York came down, and I had like this tiny little New Year's Eve party in my apartment with just like the four of us. It was a lot of fun. And then I took like almost 2 weeks of leave, and I did literally nothing. I was home for 2 weeks, and I just slept in every day. I just relaxed. I did nothing. I was so stressed out. I'd burnt myself out from volunteering and stuff for BTZ and whatever. I was like, I need a break. I wanted that time for me.
Yeah.
And that's a practice I think I'm going to keep doing, is just taking time for myself, just for no reason. I don't have to go on a vacation to take leave. I could just be home. Sometimes my supervisor, he's like, "You're just going to be home." I'm like, "Yeah. Why is that so weird?" Like, so.
Yeah, I don't see anything alarming about that. I mean, my last Christmas, I was, not this most recent one, but the last one, I was in LA by myself, and I went to a YouTuber's gym, and then I went and got some food, and I went back to my Airbnb, and that was it. I feel like it's somewhat healthy to have, first of all, to have contrast, but not to mention holidays are just they're man-made, more or less. Put aside the religious context, but in most cases, it's just a day off from work.
We're not children anymore, it's hard to. I mean, I love the holidays, like when I was a kid, but like I just wasn't in the Christmas spirit. I wasn't feeling like, oh, New Year's, like. Not that I love having a good drink every now and then and hanging out, but like I don't get excited anymore of like, ooh, party and we're gonna be drinking and like.
Yeah.
I love going to a club every now and then, but it's like that's just not where I am in my life anymore.